Seth.
Aaron, clapping. Oh. Seth clapping.
Wait, stop. Seth clapping.
Ian clapping. Ian, clap,
Do I have to
please.
clap?
Yeah, please. We'd appreciate it for my sound syncing technique.
That's what I was saying. Aaron is the one who, when he finds something half funny, he goes. It's like a 1-2. Right? I know, right? Like, that's kind of funny. Without fully committing to the guffaw.
I can't do it now. Next time I do it, call it out.
That's what it is. Ian was called me a horse when I was hanging out with him.
We're going to start drinking our stuff.
This is actually not even a cup.
It's a glass.
No, it's not. It's a vase that I got at the dollar store, and I said that would make a nice cup.
It's a vase.
Yeah. Well, because I figured it was so large that I wouldn't have to refill it as much. Less trips to the fridge.
It does look huge based on this camera angle. Like when
The perspective is way up tight.
Compared to the microphone, look at how big it is.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a big vase glass.
It's a big glass.
Anyways, how are the holidays, folks?
Pretty good.
Ian, you say you just hang out and you keep it quiet, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. Nice talk.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't do much like for the holidays. I didn't feel like driving back home. It's like 5 hours. Plus, like everybody was working, so I didn't really want to drive 5 hours to be bored in another place.
Fair enough. How have you been since? Was it everything you dreamed of and more? Meeting me.
It was really. I mean, I feel like we met obviously before we met. So when I met you, I was just like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah,
I don't think there wasn't no like lightning crashing or anything like that.
All right, well that's good.
Your room was cooler than mine, though.
It's true. We met at the Hilton Sedona, and Ian texted me, says, "Can I come to your house?" I was like, "Let me just tidy up my place first."
I was like, "What's your address?" It was funny.
3030. But yeah, man, it was good meeting you. I noticed about you. You shoot like I already knew this about you, but I got to watch it in the field. You shoot everything. You're kind of like your eyes are on different planes. So like your right eye looks that way, and your left eye looks that way, and you're having like 50 different ideas at once. And man, Aaron, the speed this guy gets stuff out at, I was like, I'm just slow or Ian's super fast. One of the two. I was like, we shot that 15 minutes ago. It's on his story. He's like, I'm reaching out to the Hilton Sedona. I want to see if they want to collaborate on it. I'm like, dude, like relax. It's not even breakfast yet.
Yeah, they didn't talk to me. They talked to me on Google, but they didn't. I don't know who. I wasn't able to get in contact with the social person.
Right.
But I posted it anyway. But yeah, no, I would just go back to my hotel room and I would just like sit and edit and post stuff. I don't know what you were doing in your room.
Winding down. I sit on photos. Maybe that's a bad thing. Like I sit on photos and I sit on videos and you get them out like a rocket ship.
Yeah,
Has speed served you well?
I don't know. I just feel this like necessity to post like instantly.
Right. And has that ever served you well in the sense of like is speed a good is speed a factor for your performance? Yeah.
That reel that I made that's about to hit 5 million views.
This guy won't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I posted that the second I made it. I mean, I posted that at like 11 at night.
Okay.
And I contemplated not posting it. I was like, this is kind of late. And I was like, whatever. Fuck it. I'll just post it anyway. And then it served me well. Woke up in the morning with my dopamine rush of notifications.
You're still a junkie, huh?
Yeah, still a junkie. Well, now I'm just going to chase that white rabbit all the time.
Yeah, 5 million is going to be tough.
It'll never happen. I mean, realistically, I was thinking about this the other day. I've been on Instagram since I think 2012.
Mm-hmm.
12? And it took that long to have something quote unquote go viral. Nah. It's never going to happen again.
No.
It will in about 2031.
I mean,
That's when
are
you're
we even
due.
going to be posting on Instagram when we're like 60? I mean, I think about that sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, but
Where does your thought
it'll
process
be.
go?
I'm like, when
It's the
do we
Facebook.
stop?
It'll be
What?
like the Facebook's for like my parents' like it's an older social media app. Instagram. I survey kids in school, and kids don't even mention Instagram.
It's got to be
It's
YouTube.
They're on the
It's
TikTok.
Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok.
Right.
Instagram's like a small percent of kids' favorite
I absolutely
social media.
hate Snapchat.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, I mean, if you're an adult male and you have Snapchat, something's up.
Wow.
It's true.
It's a bold statement.
Deleting
Something's up.
Snapchat right now. No, I don't have
What?
it. I really don't have it.
No, I have a like a Bitmoji thing on my like iMessage.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The little thing that looks like me.
Mhm.
And in order to edit it, I had to download Snapchat. So I downloaded Snapchat, and it just like sends everybody in your contacts a text.
Yeah.
It's like, bloop, Ian Jones has now downloaded Snapchat. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, why are you on Snapchat? I was like, I'm not. I had to fucking. So I like did what I had to do and then deleted it. And,
Yeah.
but yeah. What are you
Damn.
snapping?
It's
Damn.
Well, I'm just like, if you want to send me a photo, just send me a picture.
but
Fair
does it
enough.
disappear?
Where's your thought process going? You're like, oh, am I going to be doing this when I'm 60?
What, on Snap? I mean, on Instagram?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It's a good point.
probably
Am I going to do this
still
forever?
would be. I mean, as long as I'm taking photos of stuff, like, where am I going to put them?
Mhm.
You know?
Right.
Do I print them out and put them into albums
Sure.
for like my children to see? I mean, think
Yeah.
about that.
So you got to stop at some point.
I mean, do you just sit down with your kids and be like,
Look at my
me,
grid.
look at my page.
There's
Just
a great
scroll.
there's a great comedy bit. This guy's like,
No, because like not like I have physical photo albums of like.
hey, listen, if
my
you interrupt
family
me
when
one
I
more
was younger.
time, you're
What?
off. If you interrupt me one more time, you're off. Okay? I was
Well, at
saying
least I'm
there's
looking at you.
there's a great comedy bit, and you just start talking. How am I supposed to now go back to the great comedy bit?
Well, you can edit it.
No, I'm going to keep this in to show the world who you really are.
You gonna
Seth, can I tell my story?
I don't know. He's good. He's drinking water. Go.
Okay. This guy just goes, what if 20 years ago, people printed photos like they curate their own Instagram? They would be complete psychopaths. He's like, you met a girl at the bar and she's like, can I show you some photos? And she brings you to her room. She takes out 15 albums and she's like, this is my face. This is my face. This is my face. This is a face. This is my cat. This is my brunch. This is my face. And it's just like, it's just funny. It makes fun of how much we post. And if you actually printed them and had albums of 1,000 selfies in a row, you'd be like, time to go to a mental hospital.
Well, I mean, if we were posting selfies.
Yeah, it's a comedy bit. Listen,
No,
it's just for ha-has.
oh.
So he interrupts and then he shits on my bit.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel like I knew that's where you were going.
Anywho,
I like our first 10 minutes with Ian. Just kind of get things moving. We never do these with you in the morning, which is funny.
it's good.
We're gonna have to get into some valuable content soon.
Yeah, it's fine.
But
Well,
you know,
you have the
it's good to get.
you have
It's
the
good.
questions and stuff.
We do have the questions. Actually, we had a really good question. Was it 2 episodes ago, Aaron, from Rachel?
Mhm.
That I said I knew nothing about, and I said, you know what? Our good friend Ian, who's been on the show a bunch of times, might be able to, and I'm sure you will elaborate on this topic. And Aaron, can you kind of paraphrase what the video question was?
Yeah. She basically said, or her question actually was niching down. People say, you should niche down and have one thing. Does that help business? She likes to shoot a lot of different things: portraits, weddings, products, Airbnbs, cabins, travel photography, whatever it may be. Does that make it more difficult to land business deals? Does it make it confusing? That was basically the line of questioning.
And how do you make a business? How do you monetize as a photographer doing everything when you don't want to pick one or two things? And I said, I know just the guy. I mean, like when we were out in the desert, you're like, dude, I've done engagement shoots. I do like food. I do car washes. And what would, if somebody was asking you that question or brought that topic up, I mean, where would you start?
I don't know. It's like, even when you first asked me that or brought that up, it's like, I still kind of think about it. It's like a hard thing to answer. Like, the reason why I take photos of literally everything is just because I like to take pictures and of stuff.
Right.
So I just like see something and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to take a picture of that. But I think like where it started is it's like different, because when I was doing street photography, like that's kind of where I initially fell in love with like photography and editing and stuff like that. So by doing street photography and doing that often, I was building my account and kind of showing off that I could like take photos. So from there, that started to grow my Instagram account. But clients weren't like, nobody would be like, hey, can I pay you to go take street photography?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a niche that it wasn't going to pay in the long run. But what it did do is grew my account. And then that allowed brand deals to come in. So I think doing that niche, you're not necessarily going to make money off the pictures, but your account's going to grow where like the brand deals and stuff come in. I mean, that's 100% how I got Tamron's like attention. But by doing that and taking pictures, you just take pictures of other stuff that like can make you money, if that makes sense. It's hard to answer.
Okay, well, true or false, you have to niche down, or you should, in order to have more success. From your opinion,
I think if you want to grow your account and be like a travel photographer and get paid off of your exposure and you want brand deals and stuff like that, then I would say, yeah, you have to niche down and do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you want to actually make money taking photos of the doing photography, I think you should showcase that you could take photos of whatever.
Right. And then how do you structure that on a more official page, like a website? How do you get somebody who lands on your page or who checks it out to kind of get who you are? Is there a way, or how are you structuring that?
Like if you go to my website, you're going to see food photography, like real estate photography, and you're going to see like portraits and then like some street photography stuff in there. But it's just kind of like a smorgasbord of all the things that I've done that I'm like proud of.
Right.
Like, because there's like on my website, there's photos of like Jay Leno, Chris D'Elia, a lot of the food stuff I've done. And then there's also a couple portraits of people, like a family session, and then the food stuff. So it's just like all kind of there.
So your method of organizing, because my point is that you shoot everything and it could easily be chaotic, but it looks very much curated and it makes sense. And like people can understand who you are just by looking at your website or your Instagram page.
Yeah.
And so are you saying that part of the reason that's so nicely curated is because you're just picking things that mean something to you? Is it the color grade? Is it more than one thing? I mean, the question there is, how are people, despite everything you're shooting, able to say, I get what this guy is about?
I think all the stuff looks curated because I'm the photographer. Like I'm doing it. Like I'm seeing it, I'm shooting it, I'm editing it. So to a certain extent, everything that I take a photo of is going to be essentially in my style. So not necessarily one thing is going to look different than the other. I mean, like if I do like real estate stuff, those photos look completely different than
Right.
like a street shot or like food, just
So
because
then
the way it needs to be shot and edited.
if you're not posting real estate on your website or on your Instagram, because you're not, right? Typically.
No,
How are you?
no,
All right, great. So then how are you, this pertains to the topic we're talking about. How are you managing to, be online on your website, be a food photographer, be a portrait photographer, and then have multiple companies say, yeah, come shoot our house? Is it just talking to everybody? Is it back to what we talked about where you post and tag everybody? How are those, how are you able to get those opportunities within those genres without marketing your ability to do so on your socials or your website? Because this talks about shooting everything, right?
yeah, I got the real estate stuff because a client who has Airbnbs follows me on Instagram and just DM me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in shooting some Airbnbs I have?" And I was like, "Sure." So that's how I did that. And then that's how I was able to take the photos and then throw them up on my website to be like, well, now I can do this.
Right.
And I think I might have, I think I made like a real estate reel or something and I posted it on my thing. But I also like if I were to do, like a real estate job,
Mhm.
since I'm very social and I post everything on Instagram, I would put it like in my story that I was like, hey, I'm doing this at
Of
this,
course. Right.
you know,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't necessarily post like a real estate shot on my page. But it definitely, I mean, they definitely go on my website. I mean, most of the stuff I've done or the obscure shoots, it's just because people have reached out to me and be like, hey, would you be willing or interested to do this? I know you're a photographer and I like what you do. Would you do this or would you try this? And I'm like, yeah, I will.
Okay, so then follow-up question with that, and I don't mean this in an insulting way. Why are they reaching out to you? There's other local there's real estate photographers that only do that niche. Are you constantly communicating with them just casually? Just talking through DM? Are you genuinely interested in the content they're posting? How does that, because I doubt, I could be wrong, but I doubt the very first message they're sending you is, hey, can you come do this for me? Without knowing anything really about you through online discussion, or am I entirely wrong?
I think it really just boils down to that person. The reason why they asked me is they um like my style in general, like what they see on Instagram. So they probably are just like, well, I like what he does here. Maybe he'll do this. So I'm sure that's how like the ask would come.
And have you had
Like I mean that's
have you had
100% how
prior
I got
right,
the car wash.
right. Remind us how that came to be. Run us
Um
through how you going through a car wash, the most random, esoteric thing, how you going through a car wash came to money in your bank account from start to finish as quickly as you can.
Drove to a car wash, was inside of it, pulled out my phone, you know, took a little story of going through the car wash because the car wash always looks cool,
Yep.
like the lights and stuff. So I put that in my story and then found the brand of the car wash, put them in my story, and I shrunk down their tags so no one else can see it, only the brand can see it. They happened to see my story. Right from my story, they went to my profile, went to my website, and then within like 20 minutes, there was a DM from them asking me if I would be interested in contract work.
Nice.
And then literally from there, I hopped on a phone call like 2 days later, figured up a contract, and then it started to turn into money. Like
Right.
all said and done over the course of maybe like a year, that car wash trip of me putting in the story probably generated me about $18,000.
Wow.
So it was totally worth it.
Wow.
So sometimes when you do stuff like that, you catch a W.
So moral of the
Sometimes when you
story,
do stuff like that, nothing happens.
right. So moral of the story is what, in your opinion?
Moral of the story is just like tag everybody.
Right.
You never know. And you literally never know. Like that food reel I made the other day, I freaking tagged Kerrygold butter in it.
Mhm.
Like, it's butter. Like, what am I going to do? But I mean, the butter's good, but like, what if they saw it? They're like, hey, I'm going to send you a bunch of butter and I'll be buttered up.
Now, do you
Buttered
think this advice, let's call it, pertains to people who are interested in shooting everything? They don't care about being a travel influencer or doing that kind of stuff. They just want to make money with their camera. They're interested in a lot of different things. Do you think this advice only pertains to people who are looking to be diverse and versatile? Or, if you are the travel influencer thing, would you still say, hey, tag everybody?
Well, if you're a travel influencer or you're trying to go that route, it would be wise to tag everybody, because if that's what you're doing already, like, it would make sense to tag everyone. Like the clothes on your back, the vehicle you're driving, the hotel you're staying at, because all of those brands could help you out, could help your road to be a travel influencer,
Right.
Like
Take
car
a stick of
rentals,
butter on the
hotels.
plane with you. Smear it
Well,
on your
not
face.
butter. I mean,
I'm kidding.
no, I mean, it's like,
Luggage,
it's very hard
airline.
because
Yeah,
I don't know why I do what I do. I don't know why I do the things that I do. I just do it.
I do. I know why you do.
Like
I
I've
think I do.
had a good track run with brands and doing that. So I just continue to do it. Plus my brain doesn't like stop like marketing myself. Like no matter what I do, I try to, I don't know. It's just like,
Well,
it's
Seth,
very annoying
you
for me.
described him as someone that's like, I'm going to shoot this, I'm going to shoot that, I'm going to shoot this, I'm going to shoot that.
Yeah.
Constant ideas, constant thinking. I think there's probably more than two, but there's two ways to approach getting paid in photography. One is you just double down on something that worked. Say it's car washes. Now Ian can say like, oh, that worked. How many car washes are in the state of Pennsylvania? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just go from car wash to car wash and do this method and improve my skill, my niche of car wash photography, and I want to make a career out of that. Replace car wash with portrait, wedding photography, sports photography, like whatever it may be, concert photography, like that's your thing. Or you're getting 20 car wash gigs a year, and that's your life, and you're getting paid and you have a salary. But I think for someone that's really interested in lots of things and their attention goes elsewhere, that might not be fun. That might get old very quickly. So he might have 1 or 2 car wash gigs a year, but also 1 or 2 food gigs, 1 or 2 real estate. And you kind of throw a lot of things at the wall and see what sticks, and then you're able to do it. So he's kind of like the handyman of photography versus someone that like specializes in, I only do plumbing, versus a handyman that can come into your house and be like, I can do anything.
I was laughing because I thought you meant
good.
plumbing photography. I was like,
Plumbing
Yeah, that's what I
photography.
thought too.
I'm not laughing at plumbers. That's an incredible, like, that's,
Yeah.
I'm laughing.
don't.
I thought you meant plumbing photography. It's just butt cracks.
But like if you have a niche, you have to really figure out that niche and put all the energy into that niche. If you like a lot of things, you can't put all the energy into every single one and figure out how to dominate the field. You have to kind of do a good job, be able to prove that you can do maybe a B+, A- job for everything.
Mhm.
And then when people know you or through different things, or, hey, you did this, but I have Airbnbs, would you be able to do that? And you're personable, it kind of spreads around, and it probably keeps your attention a little bit more in the photography space of like, oh, I want to try that. That'll be fun. That'll be new and exciting, versus this is my 50th car wash of the year. Like, I can't stand this.
Like when I was doing those car washes, it got to that point because they were like the same over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like how many times can you make a car wash look different when there's like multiple, especially if it's the same one. But like going off what you said, like if someone were to ask, be like, hey, would you be interested in this? Like I think about it and I'm like, that would be fun to do. Like I'll try it, I'll see where that goes. And then if you do a good job, now you have a client who likes the photos that you've, took of their Airbnb. So now I have an Airbnb client.
Mhm.
And then over here, I have a food person. Over here, I have a family that I did, like engagement photos for. So now I have a different pool of people who use me for different things. So it keeps it interesting. I mean, if you were to just do one thing over and over and over and over, I mean, you're going to be doing A+ job of that one thing for the rest of your life. But I don't know. That may get boring sometimes.
Yeah.
I think
that's how my brain works too a little bit. Like I think it would get tough, to just do the same thing.
so. Then follow-up question for people who are maybe listening, and then who go to your page, they say, "Oh, well, this system works because you have 27,000 followers." What would you say to that person? Because you didn't at one point, right?
No, I mean, I didn't. I mean, that's just. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look and you see that there's 27,000 there, but there's definitely not 27,000 people that actually pay attention to me, and they're actually not like local, like right near me. I
Right.
mean, some of those people are probably all across the country, so they're not really going to help me at all. I feel like the big number only helps, sadly, when you're dealing with like brands and stuff, because a brand will look at your content. They're like, "Oh, I like his content. Oh, he's got a decent amount of followers. Sure, we'll do something with him."
Right.
Like I said, Sally, the number is just like a status symbol for a brand,
As opposed to creating content and visual media and giving it to the company for a set price.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the other thing too is, I was just typing on my keyboard and I was pulling up your page for reference.
Like
I think
Instagram page or
website
page?
No, Instagram page. And
Oh.
We've already kind of said this, but I mean, I land on your page, I see an awesome street portrait with a dog, a motorcycle, a camera in someone's hand, a landscape of Sedona, your Tacoma truck, all within like 15 seconds. So I feel like if you're wanting to be someone who shoots everything and can monetize shooting everything, when people land on that page, you can't just have only engagement shoots. I mean, if I'm that car wash, okay, she or he is great at engagement shoots, right? Whereas when I land on yours, I'm confident, as a customer that, okay, he can shoot everything. Like the odds are great that whatever he comes up with are gonna fit the bill of what I want.
Yeah.
Right?
That food reel I did the other day, just making a steak. Someone made a comment that it kind of made me think. They were just like joking, but I don't know exactly what I said word for word, but they're like, "Oh, I didn't subscribe to amazing food content," or like they said something like, "Oh, a chef hacked this photographer's page," or something, just like making a joke, being like, "Oh, this was great," and I am the content. I feel like I am the niche. Like my Instagram page is ran like my life.
That may be my favorite one-liner you've ever said. I am the niche. Like you said it earlier, I am the photographer. I post what I do on my website because I like it. That's me.
Yeah. I've always ran everything I've done, like with photography, my website and stuff, is like, I'm the personality. This is what I like to do. And if you like it, that's awesome too.
And that's to the point we've talked about a lot in like maybe the last 5 or 10 episodes, Aaron, is that everyone makes good content now. Making good content isn't enough. It's people are, when they buy a print, when they buy a preset, when they buy your services, they're buying you. They're buying your personality.
Yeah.
And it's been that way for a long time, but more so than ever, like everyone is making good stuff in every genre. Everything is so good. So,
and it's gonna get easier and easier as technology gets better and better. Just think about like the iPhone and like cinematic mode, and like that's just gonna get better and better, and it's gonna be more pleasing for people to put out.
Have you messed around with
that
that
stuff? Yeah,
that's good.
So then we're getting to a point then where being a good photographer, the scales are tipping from having the best stuff, and it's going to be who has the best personality and who has the most unique personality and who's the most fun to be around, or in that sense, I think, I don't know if I could go as far as to say is like, let's get a head start on that now. If you're listening, like really focus on how you can be a personality. I'm not saying an influencer. I think being a personality as a photographer is different from being an influencer, but why are people going to pick you despite
Yeah.
the thousands of other good people whose content is as good or better than yours?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you compare that to like actors,
Mhm.
there's a lot of great actors out there. And if like a director's like making a movie and you have like 5 actors lined up to play one role, you're probably going to sit down and you're like, well, all these actors are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We love everything they did, but that guy's kind of a dick to work with and he's a pain in the ass.
Right.
Let's not have him around because he's going to be difficult. So, I mean, it makes sense that they would probably, it could be the same thing. Like if people like you, they're going to reach out to you and, you know, if you're the personality.
But I mean, Ian, you bring up a good point, and it's the only method that's really worked for me in terms of product photography is having the product or buying it, putting
Mhm.
together a good idea, showing them that you're capable with their product, so it shows that you're a fan, shows that you already use it, and creating a connection potentially that goes, hey, we could do other stuff like this for a reasonable price.
Mhm.
Like that's really the blueprint that's worked the best versus reaching out and being like, look at my photography. Because a lot of people, like Seth's saying, have good photography. I think it's more about the writing or the narrative or the idea or just the concept that you can bring a company, or the problem solving you can bring a company and say, hey, this car wash has zero marketing. I'm going to just bust out 10 photos and show them what I could do and what could be attracting customers to their company. And that
Mhm.
I think goes a long way to kind of get that first step done, a little sweat equity to show them like, hey, this is what I can do. I'm not afraid to do it. And it's not just 200 people a day saying, can I do photography for you? Because
Yeah.
it's like, no, we have an iPhone. We're good. You know,
Well,
like that's kind of the thought process, I think, between
Yeah.
these people.
Well, I do kind of the same approach like that. Like stuff I have in my office or things I buy or things I actually use.
Mhm.
And if I actually enjoy it, I'll be like, I'll check out that brand's social or their website or stuff. And if I think I could crank out maybe some photos of that thing, and I'll try to reach out to them to just give them the stuff, or just be like, hey, over here, look at me.
Mhm.
You know, like these speakers I have in my office, I like researched them. It was a long time ago. I think they're edifiers or edifier. Took photos of that stuff in my office, like you know, I normally do. This was years ago when I was like building my office, but now I have a relationship with them, and they've sent me. I have their speakers in my office. I have a subwoofer of theirs in my office. All of my Bluetooth speakers in my home are that brand. They've sent me numerous headphones, all sorts of stuff. And that just worked off me actually purchasing the first set of their speakers. And then since I like them, you know, they're in my office, I just made some content with them. And now I have a relationship with that brand. So, I mean, that's how I approach like all brands mostly.
There's also a no fear aspect to Ian that we've
Mhm.
talked about many times, but you're not afraid to get rejected or be like, you know, here I did these photos, and they're like, no thanks, man. We have a marketing team in house. Like we're good. Thanks. That's cool. Good work, but we're good. Like you would be like, all right, cool. This coffee cup looks cool. Let's take pictures of it.
That's what I'm
And like
saying.
next. And I
Mhm.
think that's important to not get, you know, that sort of attitude where you don't get bogged down, where you're like, there are a million other photographers that are better than me. Everyone takes good pictures. Like no one's gonna ever hire me. And just kind of stop and like quit. If it's something you really want to do, you have to have thick skin. I don't know if that's the right term, but I guess maybe a little bit thick skin with like the rejections, and just be like, all right, that, you know, check that one off the list. Let's move on. You know,
Yeah. I
and
mean, like for is like if outside looking in, if you're like, oh, this guy just works with everybody, he catches W's all the time. That's not true at all. Like there's a bunch of L's on my resume too. I mean, but no one really talks about like getting shut down or, you know what I mean? Obviously social media, you post your wins all the time. You know, no one's going to be like, man, I got rejected from XYZ brand. That sucked. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff out there, and your phone and camera, like you have access to all that instantly, quick. Like,
Yeah.
so if you get a no, you're like, there's so much more.
I also like, was it the car wash you did? Was that local? Was that
Yeah.
a place? Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, it was a local car wash, but they had multiple locations
Mhm.
all around. So I was going to like the ones in Pennsylvania. I went to
Mhm.
Maryland, Ohio. I went to like almost everyone that was in like a 3-hour drive.
Right. So I consider that local, and it started with your town, give or take. And I think a lot of us jump right over that part of life. Like our town has so many restaurants and businesses and car washes and laundromats and coffee shops and sandwich places and dog groomers. You know, like
Yeah.
there are so many things that we access and use, but we go straight to yeah. Seth's wearing Patagonia, straight to Patagonia and ask them if they need photography. Where it's like they probably have that pretty locked down right
Yeah.
now. Maybe, but they probably have it pretty locked down versus, you know what? This is a place I use all the time. I'm local. I'm a customer. And back to my other point, someone that uses the product or uses a business, there's already a little connection. Like I like this person because they support what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then you show them, hey, I'm local and I have this skill. It can build upon things. And then that guy has Airbnbs, and that Airbnb person has a dog collar they want you to take a picture of with your cute pooch. You know, like things just kind of can snowball if you start local sometimes and take a look around like what products you're using, what businesses are you frequenting. You have a skill that's local that you can really hit up. And I think that's a good point too that people often miss and start to just attack things that they see online or, oh, I really like Toyota. You know, I'm gonna go after that. Okay. Like that's
I
cool for
tried
your
that.
portfolio. Yeah, you tried that. We all have, but it's cool for your portfolio. But they're doing their thing. You know, so I think the car wash to me is very interesting and very symbolic in terms of like that's a company that, you know, has a lot of fancy lights, a lot of cool things, a lot of splashing. It's like a fireworks show. And
Yeah.
probably marketing wasn't on the forefront of, they're like, we need amazing marketing to get people here. So there's a problem that you were solving as well. And like, and giving a solution to like, whoa, that's really interesting marketing for something that we never even thought of.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that because when I was doing that, couple of my friends were like, "What do you mean you're shooting for a car wash?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"I don't know. Like, I'm just doing it." And then I started making reels and videos, and it looked sick. But they were just like, I would never connect the two dots to be like, why does a car wash need this like awesome content?
I was just
And I was
gonna
like,
ask
I don't know,
this.
but it doesn't need to look that sick. It was like, I mean, some of those videos and reels that I was making, I was like, these are fucking awesome, dude. And they're just like a car wash. And it's just like, it's funny. But like, I don't do that anymore for them because that just like, they just like stop doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I don't know. At the time, it was just fun and odd.
Mhm.
It's like having a funeral home reach out to you and be like, hey, we need some sick content. I'm like, all right, no
All right.
business doing this, but I'll try. I'll definitely try it.
Evans last week made a really just an interesting point. I think he took it from somewhere where for any niche, you get 3 different shoots and you're quote unquote a pro. Like if you get 3 different restaurants that you're doing food content for and you can show a repetitive skill, not just a one off, or like I did a cool cheeseburger shot one time, but you can show different places, different foods, different things. Now you can say good to go. So I imagine you have many of those little pockets where there's like, I proved my worth here. I proved my worth here. I proved my worth here. And it just allows people to come to you, I think, as like, I don't want to use the word handyman in like a negative sense, but like a jack of all trades, which is often better than a master of one, is the end of that quote.
Yeah.
So,
when we were getting those interviews, when we were getting interviewed at Tamron, at Sedona, the one guy said I was, because what is it? The jack of all trades, master of none.
but he said often better than a master of one.
He said you're a jack of all trades, master at some, which is better. He said that's a better way to say it than master of none. Because master of some sounds better than master of none, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the full quote, people just say the first half. The full quote is jack of all trades is a master of none, which is often better than a master of one.
No, That's the full quote. I've never heard the end part.
Got schooled today. I didn't know that either.
Schooled.
We'll go schooled.
Schooled.
You mustn't. No.
Well, so does it ever enter your mind? Okay, let's continue with the car wash example. Why the hell does a car wash need an Instagram? You know, do you ever think of that? Or is it in your mind, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do the best I can and make the coolest content I can. That's not my job.
Yeah, I mean,
can I add to that? Was it for their social medias, or was it for marketing, internet, YouTube, like whatever? What was the goal and deliverables?
So I could just like give you some insight on that particular car wash anyway. Their whole marketing at the time, what they were starting to do was try to play off this like lifestyle. Like they were trying to give their particular car wash like a personality, a lifestyle. Like you were cool if you went to this car wash over the other car wash. I mean, if you go to their website, it was like all over. Like it was like they were trying to make it a lifestyle, and the marketing was good. And I think that's why it just kind of worked out how it did, because I had went there at the time. They were doing a shift in their marketing, and they were like, this guy has cool content. We like what he does. Let's see what he can do for us. And then, like I said, I gave them a bunch of stuff. But then over the course of like 2 years, inside the company, they cut back on a lot of their marketing expense because they had already got their marketing where they wanted it to. So they like were cutting a bunch of people off. And that's when I got cut off. They're like, we don't need content like this anymore because we have it. We could just like use our phones. You know what I mean?
Right.
So whoever inside the company was doing their social and stuff anymore, they were just like, you know, and they're already on like payroll.
So when you are looking for potential clients, is there a tell in their Instagram or social media? Are you looking for like, like there's a weakness here, they're not that established in terms of following, like I can improve their Instagram, let's say 30 posts, and then like move on? Or are you looking for established companies that like already, like, does it matter? Or is there like this is a gold mine, like I'm going to attack this brand because like I'm going to improve this a lot, versus I'm going to attack Patagonia. They're in literal Patagonia, you know, hiking. Like I'm in Connecticut. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to try to attack this brand image. Like to me, there's an obvious answer here.
Yeah, I do that a lot with restaurants. Like, especially restaurants I'm like interested in, like actually going to eat their food, you know? But also like I'll go to a restaurant's Instagram account to try to see photos of their food, to see what it even looks like. Maybe that'll help my buying decision. And if I go to a restaurant's Instagram page and they have like awesome content and their photos are sick, it doesn't make sense for me to try to poke them. because they already have that down locked, but if they're posting photos of their food and it just looks terrible, then it's a good poke. But then that tells me two things.
Yeah.
It tells me, one, they don't have a food photographer just because they didn't think about it, or two, they don't want to spend the money on it.
Right.
So that poke could either go left or right.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10 restaurants' Instagram accounts are ran by like a manager that doesn't have time for it, because the restaurant doesn't find the value in spending the money for like food photography and stuff. So it could always go both ways.
How do you,
just depends.
In what way do you help them see the value or convince them? Do you have a case study? Like, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, or you let me do this, this will happen for your business. How do you make them see the value?
I mean, you could always do I like to do the like McDonald's analogy. If McDonald's posted photos of what their food actually looks like on their social or in their commercials, like it wouldn't hit as much as it does is when they do like, professional food shoots with their food, which at the end of the day is not even edible, I don't think. But it's like you're selling a product and you want people to buy your product and digest it. You want your food to look like as best as possible. So
this is great. Now we have to cut to a mid-roll for McDonald's. Like you just.
But
this
like
episode is sponsored.
If I'm a chef at a restaurant and I make this beautiful dish, and I look at our social media and whoever put a photo of it made it look like dog shit, I'm gonna be like, well, no wonder no one's coming in here to eat this. It looks like crap. So I mean, that's kind of like my approach. Like you want your product to look as best as possible, Like if you're on a Tuesday night and you're scrolling through your phone and you're like, man, I'm hungry, I don't know what for, and you just see you're like, oh, dude, this burger looks sick. Where's that from? I want it. And then you go do it.
I mean, it absolutely works. Like there's a restaurant right down the street, Seth. You actually have been there with me.
Birchwood Tavern. What's it called?
Birch Hill Tavern. Good for you. Nice job.
Nice.
But they will post, a photo of their special for the day. And that does sometimes get me out of my seat and into the restaurant. So like marketing and photography, and it has to look good, obviously, and be described well, is there. And it brings another point. Ian, I feel like you're not just a photographer, you're sort of a market analyst in terms of, okay, this restaurant is packed Monday through Sunday. Like they might not need marketing. Photos aren't great, but they're absolutely full. Like their prices are really high and it's absolutely full and the food's good. Maybe not the best attack. I'll ask, but I'm not going to be surprised if they're like, no, thank you. Versus a restaurant that the food's really good and it's Friday dinner time and no one's here. What the hell's going on? Like they need some help. And it's not just about photography. It's about how can I look at their Instagram and say like, hey, like we need to market this a little bit better. You're not tagging anything in the Pittsburgh area. Like you're not tagging Pennsylvania food, Pittsburgh food. Like we can do some work here.
Yeah.
You're looking for those like market sort of cues of like, oh, this actually makes sense. This is a problem I can solve.
Yeah. I hate when restaurants don't use they don't use their local hashtags. Like they'll post a photo of like spaghetti and meatballs and it'll be like hashtag pasta night. Yeah. Like, how's that helping you in your local area? Yeah. Like, nobody's scanning hashtag pasta night because I don't even know what I want pasta that night. I'm scanning Pittsburgh foodie, see what's under that.
Right.
See what I want.
Right.
Pasta. Yeah, it's got to be direct. You're right.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to an interesting topic. Aaron's not sold on it. I was waiting for his facial reaction. Oh, now he cute. I don't know what I'm talking about. Your little email hack, I thought was brilliant. With the subject line.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was manipulative and disgusting.
Can you tell us? So you left a comment on one of our Instagram reels about a little hack you like to use. Whether you use that all the time, I don't know. But you said 100% open rate, which is bold statement.
Well, yeah, it's pretty bold.
Can you tell us what that was and the mentality behind it, and then Aaron can yell at you.
So the mentality behind it. Listen.
Well, explain it first.
I hate junk mail. I hate spam mail. Okay. But this is where it came from. I won't even open up emails if I see it's from like something I bought or like online, and now you're stuck in there like email marketing, and I'm always just delete. I bought these sheets maybe 2 years ago from this brand.
Bed sheets?
Bed sheets, yeah. Okay. I bought these bed sheets. I was getting some new bedding or whatever. And they send me emails all the time, and I don't even open them. I just delete them. But they sent me an email, and they did the RE dot. And I was like, what? But I opened it. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I opened it because of that. Mm-hmm. So I tried it a few times, and it works.
So to clarify, you put RE in the subject line, short for reply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you send that email. It's your first email. And then
sometimes
with the idea that, like what happened to you, the recipient will say, oh, it's a reply email. I must have already been talking to this person, and that they'll open it and read what you have to say.
Yeah.
And so you've instituted this, and
I mean, the few times that I've done it, it works. But you also have to, it's not just like an end all be all. You have to word the email appropriately. You can't just be like, hey, like you're begging for something. Like generally what I like to do, because usually the person that is managing a brand's Instagram account is not the same person that's managing their marketing emails.
Right.
There's 100% going to be a disconnect there. So with the email, I like to say, I was messaging somebody who has control of your page on social media. They told me to email this address.
Right.
So whoever opens up that email is now like, well, this person already had some sort of contact with our company. He got this email address. Now he's reaching out to me here. So it's kind of taking a cold call and making it a little bit like a lukewarm approach.
By putting RE in the subject line.
Yeah.
And so you've had a good success rate with people opening, well, I guess replying to that, because how else would you know they opened it? With replying to that lukewarm / cold pitch, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is there ever any, I'm not suggesting everybody run out and do this.
Yeah, please don't, because stuff like that's going to run its course.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that'll get outplayed.
Right.
Just like with anything else. And that's something that like I've only tried a few times.
Right.
Like it's 100% not what I do.
So the point in bringing this up, I think, is how you can be, for me anyways, is how you can be creative and clever with, in this example, with the goal being, how can I get someone just to open my email? How can I, and to think about, again, it goes back to our earlier discussion of, I guess, like that's being clever is a personality trait. Aaron would disagree with this approach, but maybe there's a debate here, and we'll put this in the poll on Spotify. Is it more important to get someone to open your email? Like, is there any harm in putting that in a subject line?
I think for doing it something that I tried because I saw someone else do it to see how it worked for me.
Right.
Was fine. Just to be like, just because it interested me, because it took me out of the
loop.
It just kind of blew my mind.
Right.
What's that?
The loop it took you out of the loop that you were in of every time you saw that email address, you would just delete it.
Yeah.
And
but
so
them doing that made me open it.
And I'm also so to the question I asked earlier, how did it make you feel when you opened it, you realize I haven't sent them any emails? Like, do you care?
I mean,
do you care? Do you like,
no,
oh,
personally
like,
me, but personally me, because I'm like in like the marketing field,
Right.
and I had that mindset. I was just blown away at how fucking smart that was.
right. So this is my point.
That's
So if
what
you're
I'm saying.
reaching
It
out,
took me out of it. I was like, wow, that was so smart.
right. So if you're
And I was
reaching,
like, I have to try this.
if you know you're reaching out to another marketing manager, if you know your audience, and Aaron, this is devil's advocate because you don't necessarily agree with this approach. And I'm not saying I agree with either one. I'm just saying if you know you're reaching out to a marketing person like Ian, are the odds going to be that they say, that's fucking brilliant? This person is clever. That's smart. I'm interested to hear what they have to say. They've differentiated themselves from every other email I've ever received. Or are they going to say, devious, don't want to work with him? Based on who you're sending the email to, I personally would be like, that's really clever.
It could go both ways.
Is it my floor?
It's your floor, buddy.
I'm just looking at my email because I get so much spam. I mean, this is not this is not a new tactic. So I think Ian's right that it will be like eventually.
I had never heard of that.
I've had my email address since 2000 and probably 2, like early. So at this point, from buying stuff and email lists, the spam can be yucky. But I've seen it many times, and it does catch your attention. Like, is this something I have to look at? Because I am looking at subject lines because they're very clear when it's spam email versus someone that's, just says "hey" in the subject line. Like that catches my attention more than a long thing like 30% off this, like this whole thing.
Right.
Ian's caveat of he's talked to someone and he doesn't want the lead to go cold, because whenever someone in DMs says like, hey, email this person, I do have a moment of like, oh, that's good news. Like they read my thing and they're sending me along the way. But part of me is like, oh, they're just sending me to the next person that's not going to know what this is about.
Sending you to the email graveyard.
Yeah, whatever it may be. So, that's something. And you could argue that RE means regarding, like regarding the conversation I was having earlier with whomever I was having this conversation with and whomever this concerns, like this is where we were. Fine. In terms of a brand and a company, I guess my devil's advocate would be first impressions are important. And if you're a company and you stand for truth, integrity, honesty, being impeccable with your word, your first line, your first impression is, I'm going to trick you to open this. And someone might go like, oh, that got me. And that's cool.
Right.
Someone might dig a little deeper and be like, we never talked. Like he did the returned, or what's that even mean? The RE reply?
Is that what
reply?
it stands for?
Maybe, I don't know. Replying email. I don't know. But I feel like a part of someone might go like, that's a yuck move. That's an ick. Like, let me look at their work. That's fine, but I don't know. I think it begs the question, like what's Ian, your brand is Ian. Our brand is the Photographer Mindset. If we're asking a company for the first time, hey, we want to work with you, and the first move is a trick so they open the email, I think you run the risk of getting like, oh, those guys are sneaky.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do it from your business.
All right. Well, I guess that's part of the conversation and the question. I think I get it when you've already talked to someone and you're like, I don't want this to get lost. Like I really want the next person to open up this email and see that there's been a conversation and see that there is work. Like I get all that, and I don't mind it as much because there has been a previous conversation. It's just been shifted over.
Yeah. 100%. Like I said, when I saw it, blew my mind, thought it was clever, wanted to try it. So I did. but it's definitely not something I would exhaust.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, generally, all of my subject lines are exactly the same when I reach out to a brand. I do this for a few reasons. One, I can go into my Gmail and I can search the subject, and then I'll see all of my emails that I've reached out to people. So my subject when I reach out to a brand has always been my username in all caps, a space, then an X, and then the brand's name in all caps to make it look like my brand, their brand collab. Those are my subjects of pretty much 100% of all my brand emails that I send out. And then that allows me to go into Google and I could search. I'll do ENS Jones space X and they'll all populate. So I can be like, okay, this, and this, so I can keep track and not like lose a conversation. And sometimes sometimes I could copy and paste the email and make it brand specific and kind of have like a set email. Because I feel like if you guys reach out to brands, you kind of have a basic skeleton of what you want to say with all your links and stuff in there. So that's generally like what I do 100%.
That's similar to the way I write emails on our podcast behalf. Is I write partnership opportunity, their brand, X, and then ours.
Yeah.
I like that because even it just paints the visualization of our two brands working together. It just already puts that in someone's mind. Like, this, you know? I like that a lot.
Ones that have worked for me nicely is, again, especially when you have a narrative or an idea. I in as few words as can say, it just says, my name, and I have a concept I really like, and I have some proof of it attached. So it kind of gives like an interesting clickbait, like, oh, he already has an idea and he has proof of it. I do want to see it. So it's like a little teaser of what's coming.
Yeah. Have you, speaking about like nefarious emails that get you to open them, have you seen that, the scam where they send you where it looks like a receipt that you've already purchased?
Yeah.
From something from like McAfee or like PayPal. I get those all the time. It's like a receipt from PayPal, and they're like, "Thank you for sending your payment of $650 for an iPhone 15," and then they like send you links to
check it out.
To defute this purchase, call XYZ.
From PayPal with 2 L's at the end.
From what?
It's always the weirdest. I'm always like, who falls for these? Because it's like from PayPal 69777AJK, like at weirdoemail.com.
At fucking MSN. Like no company doesn't use Gmail or have like
or their real email.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, their real email. It's like they have a pixelated logo at the bottom, like Amazon that has like
the
blown
sad
out pixels.
thing is people fall for that shit all the time, every day. That's why they continue to do it.
Absolutely.
One of the things I can confidently say is I've never been scammed in my life.
Now you've done it.
It's really hard to get me. So
now it's a challenge.
Well,
like the whole gift card thing
got you.
You know,
everyone out there try to scam Ian.
No, please, Jesus. No, I'll get an influx of emails from Instagram being like, if you didn't try to change your password, I'm like, oh, I hate those. Those always terrify me.
Heartstopper.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of emails, and we're talking about 2 episodes ago where people wrote in or videoed in, previous guests are on the show. Maybe you can make this as succinct as possible. The other topic that we talked about was when you've been chatting with a company and then it goes cold, it goes quiet. How you deal with that? How many follow-ups are you sending? What frequency? And at what point do you just say, I'm moving on?
I mean, that actually happened to me with a fish tank company. Um,
That's the most Ian thing ever said on the podcast.
no,
Oh my God.
I bought this awesome dress, like this drawer, and there's like a 2-shelf drawer, and it's like white, and there's like neons inside of it, and it like
Mhm.
looks awesome. And I was like, I really want to put like putting a fish tank on here would be cool, a little tiny fish tank. And the aesthetic of everything else in my office, I was like, this fish tank needs to look beautiful. Like this has to be, it has to be a gorgeous, awesome fish tank with lights, and it has to vibe. So I was looking at fish tanks for a while, and I found this brand that makes a gorgeous fish tank, and it looked awesome. I was like, this really would fit cool in here, and obviously it was very expensive. So I was like, man, I really don't want a fish tank in here that bad, because I think it was like $450, I was like, I do know if I do get this fish tank, I'm going to make some content with it. I do know that I'm going to take photos of it. I'm going to show it off. And the fact that it's going to be in my office is like, you should be excited that I wanted your fish tank in here,
Right.
So I reached out to the brand, had 2 or 3 emails. They were all in. They were like, oh yeah, like 100%, like pick a color, whatever. And I was like, oh, this is stoked. I'm stoked for this. I'm like looking at fish. Like, I'm like, what fish am I going to put in here? I'm looking at like crabs and like all this other stuff. And I'm like excited for it. And they never emailed me back. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So then I did 2 or 3 more pokes, just like, hey, haven't heard from you, like whatever, and then I got nothing ever transpired to that, and it sucked. Just because like I was
sorry,
like stoked to have that. What?
I was I think just imagining your fish tank and the kinds of fish you could have. But did they respond the first one? Did you have a conversation going?
No, I had a conversation. The first email I sent, they actually directed me to the person who's in charge of making those decisions. And so I went through that person. Then the second person I actually talked to, they were from Ohio too. So they even had conversations of me coming out there and seeing the facility and showing me how the fish tanks are made. And then I just lost contact with them. They just didn't email me back. So
what kind of timeline are we looking at?
What could have happened. That person could have got fired or left the job, and I got lost in translation. Because I've had brands email me, and my original form of contact left the company or got fired or went off to different jobs, and they were like, I'm your new form of contact. So you never know.
So
but stuff happens.
What was the timeline on that, and what made you say, this one's done?
I just think because I'm not going to be annoying, and I'm not going to hassle or like or hound anybody.
Okay,
so
what constitutes as hounding? Let's like get nuanced. Like how many emails, how many follow-ups?
Yeah, I think just
opinion.
I think for me, hounding a brand is like instantly cold emailing, asking for something right off the bat for free without trying to show value or out trying to have an idea, like Aaron said. Like when I reached out to the fish tank company, I told them who I was, what I'm about. I had links to all of my website, my Instagram. I also showed them what my office looked like. And I was like, this is where I want to put your fish tank. I think it would look gorgeous here. Obviously complimented the company on the stuff that they do. Told them my ideas for stuff. And then I was like, this is all laid out for you right here. If you're interested, hit me back. If not, then you're not.
So I'm asking for a fish tank, but I'm not flat out asking for a fish tank.
Yeah, it's more or less be like, let's work together on something if you want to.
Yeah.
And you're going to get XYZ, and I'm going to get XYZ. So we both feel as if we got something out of the partnership. And I mean, the fact that they were like local in Ohio was also cool too, because I was like, shit, I'll go out there.
Mhm.
I'll go out there and take photos and stuff. I don't care.
So how many weeks beyond that until things go cold and you say, and how
I think
many
generally
follow-ups
when
till you've called it?
I didn't hear back from them. I was like, I usually give like a week, like an entire full week, because I know I'll lose emails. It'll take like a week to respond, so I'll usually wait like a week. And then I sent them another one. I was like, hey, just touching base, circling back. You know, haven't heard from you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Put this at the top of your inbox.
Put this
And
at
if
the
you
top of
don't,
your inbox,
and still, if I don't hear anything back, I will just be like, well, you know, cut my losses from there.
So you're all
I'm
about
not gonna-
speed. You're about speed. That's that's your thing. Like, I mean, we've talked about it. Aaron
I'm
will
not gonna
go
send
until they
multiple-
tell
I'm not
him
gonna send
no.
multiple.
Aaron will
That's
go until
not-
they say no.
That was an exaggeration.
Nope.
But I do.
Nope.
I like communication if they've already talked to me.
Right.
You know. But I'm not doing it more than one time a week. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to hound them. It'll be on a Friday. Like, hey, just checking in, and I'll keep doing that for a while as a follow up. You know, maybe you said you wanted to work, and then now I don't hear from you. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just want to know. I just want to know if we're doing it or we're not, because I have to plan my life. I'm not on call for you.
Yeah.
You know, and then eventually you cut it off and you move on.
I'm
So
Gmail does the thing
It's-
now when you've sent an email, it'll put it to the top of your inbox if they haven't replied, and it says it puts a
you'll
little tag
nudge.
on it that says follow up, like suggesting you should follow up with an email. And sometimes it's only 3 days after I've sent it. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, that's quick. So I'm wondering what the most optimal spacing is for an email follow up. I'll ask AI while you continue to talk.
I'm gonna say maybe 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah, give them a chance.
Yeah. Because realistically, like people's phones are on them like so quick. Like if anybody texts, if you like text somebody, you don't hear from them for like 3 hours, they're like, hey, sorry, I was busy. No, you just didn't want to respond that quickly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, emails could be the same way, because an email is basically just a professional text.
Do you want to hear
'Cause you could-
AI's input?
Yeah,
Sure.
3 to 5 business days.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's generally recommended to wait a few business days before sending a follow-up. This allows the recipient enough time to respond to the initial email, blah, 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 blah. But it was interesting that it popped out 3 to 5 business days after sourcing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different sources online.
I mean, what's tough is, I email Seth. He works at a company. He likes the idea, but he's got to email Ian and make sure it's okay, and then wait for Ian's email.
Mhm.
But it's not their number one priority or their only thing they're working on. So if Seth forgets that Ian's supposed to write him back, and then I write Seth back, he's got to still get back to Ian. Like, there can be a lot of inner workings in a company. I think it's tough. I don't think a friendly reminder is terrible. I mean, as long as you don't flip the switch and get angry that they didn't respond. But if you're just like, hey, I'm trying to help you out, help me, help you. Like, I'm just a reminder. And we've gotten that, Seth, many times where they're like, oh, sorry, we've been so busy. Sorry, we dropped the ball. Sorry, this, sorry, that, which all may be honest, but they're getting back to you and they're recognizing that it took a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like that all goes back to being the personality and being a nice person,
Mhm.
and like being like wanting to be around someone. Because I mean, there's no end all be all of how to approach a brand. Like if I don't know, it's all on how you talk to them.
Well, I like talking about this with all the different guests, because I hope that if people are taking notes, like I do every week, I try to find the common denominator between all the success stories. I think should be one of the main premises behind this podcast, is find the common denominators in success stories, whether it's email subject lines or being the niche, I am the niche, finding those common denominators and implementing them, because in however many 196 episodes, there's a good sample size here. There's a good sample size, and there should be, a congruency and a confidence in strategies that have been spoken multiple times from different people across different genres, because then that's inarguable, that's objective data.
Yeah, we're creating photography AI.
Data.
That AI can just steal and pop out.
Yeah. Can I ask Ian just a kind of closing wrap-up question?
No.
We want to keep going?
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Ian, we've been asking our guests some of this question in closing. If you had to give your younger photographer self advice as you were starting out, what would you tell your younger photographer self about the field, about the business, and what advice would you give your mini Ian?
I think to start sooner. Like, that's what I would say. I would just say start. Do it sooner.
Did
Not
you
that I feel
drag
like
your
it's started-
did you rush right out of the gate, or did you drag your feet for a while? Were you like toying with photography for years, or is this just an age thing? Because I feel that too sometimes. Like, I mean, I started in my late 30s,
No,
a lot of times I'm like, oh, I wonder if I started at 25 when Instagram first came out, what would be,
no, like I probably got, well, I've said this story like a ton of times. One of my roommates was taking photography in college, and he like was trying to get me into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those type of people that if someone is telling me I need to do something, like, oh, you need to watch this show, like you need to watch this show, I purposely won't. Like it makes me not interested in it. So that's kind of like what he was doing with photography. So when he wasn't home, I was like taking his camera and sneakily trying to get into it because I didn't want him to know he was influencing me to take photos. But I said I would tell my younger self to start sooner, because I mean, imagine if you got into photography like 10 years before you actually got into photography.
Yeah.
Like, where would your skill set be currently? Plus, if you got into the photography Instagram game 10 years earlier, where would that account be now? Because I know the photos that I were posting on Instagram right away were like terrible. They were just like cell phone pictures of like your dog, or like a cup of beer, or like they were just bad. You know what I'm talking about? So like, imagine if as soon as Instagram came out, you were posting like high quality professional DSLR images right out the gate.
And so I think
you could potentially have like 5 million followers on Instagram.
Well, and so I think that point speaks to something larger, because we can't do anything about that. We can't start photography sooner. We can't start running sooner. We can't start painting sooner. We can't start playing guitar sooner, but we can start that new thing now. We can use that piece of advice. We can get into video right away if we're toying with it. We can get into doing that seminar or that speech. So I think there's a tangible piece of advice in that is, don't wish you had started sooner on something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't wish I started sooner. Like, I'm not like sad or like, oh, I wish I would have did this sooner. But I mean, just to quickly answer the question, I'd be like, well, maybe I would start sooner. But I'm not like mad I didn't.
That's a good point. I'm glad to hear that.
Great point.
Yeah.
What I've learned is that you're a sneak with your email tactics and stealing your roommate's camera behind his back. That's what I've learned today.
And what behind what back?
Your roommate's camera behind his back.
Come to think of it, I haven't been able to find my new Osmo since I saw Ian. Kind of
really,
and he's been posting about it and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe
I know. I've been thinking about that since that day.
I've sold like 6 people on this damn DJI Osmo. DJI,
listen,
sponsor the show. Sponsor me or the show, please.
I mean, ever since you had it and I saw you use it, I was like, I really want that.
Right.
And I thought it was like really cool. And since I got back from Arizona, I'm like, I want one. Like I want to get it. And it's like $520 for the base, and then it goes up to like it was like $699 for the
creator kit.
Yeah, the whole shebang, the big kit. And if I am going to spend that amount of money on something, I want it right away. Because I need that it's the rush of spending the money on something I want, and I can have it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in any Best Buy near me. It's in no camera stores. It's not available for me, so I have to order it either from DJI directly or buy it on Amazon and wait. And even on Amazon, it's taking like a week to 2 weeks shipping time. So the reason why I haven't bought it yet is because I have to order it. And I have to spend that much money and then not have anything right away. And that bugs me. And I haven't done it yet, and that's why. I'm not going to fucking get it until I can physically go to a Best Buy and be like, here is my money. And they could be like, here's the product.
Thing.
Right.
Here's the thing.
Fair enough, man.
It's interesting.
So, I don't like to make big purchases and not be able to have said thing instantly.
It's interesting.
I learned something about you.
It's kind of like the same as like doing a big job, and the client gets all the stuff, and then they're like, oh, well, we'll write you a check in a few weeks. I'm like, well, no, you got the thing. Now I want the thing. It just makes me feel like I did the thing for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like those memes where the real, like the wedding photographers, where they'll get paid for doing the wedding like months in advance, like even sometimes a year in advance. Like the client will pay the wedding photographer like, here's the money, and so then when it comes time to actually do the wedding and they're doing all the work and editing and handing everything over, it feels like they're doing it for free because they got paid so long ago, you know?
Wedding photographer.
Gotta leave that last third to get paid.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Well, buddy,
made me laugh a little bit.
You're a funny guy.
You can't believe how much I quoted that Harry Potter when I got back. I was like just saying it alone in my house. You ever be like alone for so long and you don't talk and you say something so you make sure your voice still works?
Are these more inside jokes about Sedona?
No, Ian and I love the Harry Potter meme. Not me, not Hermione, you. And we were just like,
he's going to sacrifice himself. And then, I mean, it was fate when I was making that reel and that audio was available. I was like, we're just doing it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. He put that out for his reel. It has no relative context for what he posted. It's like a landscape in Sedona. He stabs himself on a cactus by accident. Not me, not Hermione, you. I don't know. Sleep deprivation does funny things.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, we were tired. I mean, I was tired. They ran us they kept a pretty tight schedule.
It was an awesome event, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I mean, like, it was very, like, we're doing this, now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Not a lot of downtime, so it, like, went pretty quick.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, really well organized. It's, Tamron definitely takes care of their creators. And that's why, they sponsor their show.
That that night, going to bed at midnight, up at 4:30 was a day.
Yeah, Ian and I were in Sedona going down, hiking some rock ledges, and we're like, oh, it's probably pretty far if you look down. We're sharing one headlamp.
I know, I was the only one that had a headlamp.
The sun rises, and then on our way back, we're like, that's like a death fall.
Jeez.
I know, we were more cautious and careful when we could see the danger versus when it was dark. When it was dark, we were just walking.
It's probably safer when you're not concentrating on the fear.
Probably.
Well, it's true. I mean, if we were to fall and plummet to our death, we would have just ragdolled. And I
you would
feel
have
like
been stiffened up.
Yeah, you would have been stiffed. It's like how, what do they say if
in a car
It
crash?
would be scary falling without light and not knowing, am I going to hit soon or in 20 minutes?
Well, no, they say
like outer space.
Do quote me if I'm wrong.
I know what you're going to say.
They said what?
If you're in a car accident?
Yeah. It's why the drunk driver usually
survives, because they're so limp.
Better.
They're
just,
Yeah, or when you're asleep in a car, because you don't tense up. So
you don't tense up.
Loosey-goosey. What a way to end a show. What a way to end a show. If you're going to be in a car, try and be asleep.
Or just don't drink or drive. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. And don't text and drive. Always a pleasure having you, buddy.
I'm so guilty of that.
I know, you got to stop. Thanks again for coming on, sharing your insight. Always a pleasure having you, man.